I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
Let's be honest, Glenn Quagmire isn't exactly the most law-abiding resident of Quahog. Between his questionable antics, inappropriate behavior, and seemingly endless string of bad decisions,
Of course, since you walked in, I'm feeling a little stiff.
you'd think the law would have caught up with him by now. But if it ever did, how long would he actually spend behind bars? That's what we're here to find out. Today, we're diving deep into Quagmire's colorful history,
Giggity, giggity, giggity.
analyzing his most outrageous actions, and calculating the prison sentence he'd face in the real world. From petty crimes like trespassing and indecent exposure to felonies like kidnapping and assault, Quagmire's rap sheet is long enough to keep him locked up for lifetimes. So buckle up and stick around until the end to find out if Quagmire's sentence rivals that of other cartoon villains, or if he'll somehow talk his way into a reduced sentence. Spoiler alert, it's not looking good for him.
I swiped no on golf.
Smells kinda gamey in here.
Swipe.
Quagmire's penchant for flashing unsuspecting people has become something of a running joke in Family Guy. Whether he's exposing himself to delivery workers or pulling stunts at the beach, Quagmire's behavior is anything but subtle. In the real world, indecent exposure, deliberately revealing your private parts in public, is a serious misdemeanor. Penalties vary by state, but offenders typically face up to 1 year in prison per incident.
Package for Glenn Quagmire?
Oh, excuse me. I got a package for you, too. All right.
In Breaking Out Is Hard to Do, Quagmire flashes a woman delivering his mail. Her horrified reaction makes it clear this isn't a harmless prank. It's a crime. Let's assume Quagmire has exposed himself at least 10 times throughout the series. That's 10 years in prison for indecent exposure.
Eyes.
Oh, wow. I bet he looks so hot driving it.
I heard he bought it from his dad. Yeah, I remember his dad dropped him off at school in it one time when he was a freshman. Doesn't his dad live in Hartford?
I think so.
Quagmire doesn't have much respect for boundaries, whether they're physical or personal. From crashing Meg's slumber party to sneaking into other people's homes, Quagmire has a habit of being where he shouldn't. In legal terms, trespassing, entering someone else's property without permission, is a crime punishable by 1 to 5 years in prison per incident, depending on intent and damage caused. In Stuck Together, Torn Apart, Quagmire sneaks into the Griffin home uninvited, making himself a very unwelcome guest. Let's estimate 5 instances of trespassing. That's an additional 25 years on his record. Quagmire's escapades often leave destruction in their wake. From smashing through billboards to damaging property during his antics, he's no stranger to vandalism. While he might not intend to cause damage, the results are often the same. In real-world terms, vandalism, intentionally damaging or defacing property, is a felony if the damage exceeds $1,000, punishable by up to 5 years in prison per incident.
Whoa, gonna need some help here.
In Airport 807, Quagmire's reckless actions lead to the destruction of a billboard and other property during a car stunt. Assuming 3 significant instances of vandalism, that's another 15 years added to his sentence. If there's one thing Quagmire is known for, it's his relentless pursuit of women, whether they're interested or not. His behavior often crosses into harassment, involving unwanted advances, inappropriate comments, or even stalking.
You're a jerk, Glenn Quagmire. One of these days, you're gonna get what you deserve.
You better put something warm on. You got an icicle forming down there.
In real-world terms, harassment, persistent, unwanted behavior, can lead to up to 1 year in prison per offense, especially if it involves stalking or threats. In Quagmire's Quagmire, his obsessive pursuit of Sonia escalates to the point of outright harassment. If Quagmire has harassed 10 women, that's 10 more years on his sentence. While Quagmire's out here breaking every law in the book, why not keep things legal by smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel? Unlike Quagmire's antics, it's a completely guilt-free decision. Quagmire's antics don't just affect individuals, they often disrupt the peace. From wild parties to inappropriate behavior in public spaces, Quagmire frequently causes a scene. In legal terms, public disturbance, engaging in actions that disrupt public order, is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 90 days in jail or fines. In Blind Ambition, Quagmire's outrageous public behavior creates a spectacle that could easily land him in legal trouble. Assuming 5 instances of public disturbance, that's 1 year total. At first glance, indecent exposure, trespassing, vandalism, harassment, and public disturbance might seem like minor offenses. But when you rack them up like Quagmire does, they start to paint a much bigger picture. So far, he's looking at 61 years in prison, and we haven't even touched his felonies yet.
Right, baby. As of last night, we're man and wife. By the way, I need you to call my pimp and tell him I quit.
Quagmire's escapades often involve hiring escorts or engaging in explicit transactions. While his no-strings-attached lifestyle might seem like a personal choice, paying for such services is a criminal offense in many jurisdictions, including Rhode Island. In the real world, soliciting prostitution is a misdemeanor in some states and a felony in others. Penalties typically include up to 1 year in jail per offense, along with fines and mandatory rehabilitation programs. In Peter's Daughter, Quagmire is revealed to have a literal scheduling assistant for his encounters, indicating he's likely paid for services numerous times. Assuming 20 instances of solicitation, Quagmire racks up 20 years for this offense.
Wonder what happened to Cindy.
Dear Diary, jackpot.
While Quagmire is often portrayed as sleazy but harmless, there are moments where he crosses the line into more serious crimes, including holding people against their will. From locking Brooke in his basement to tying up various characters in compromising situations, Quagmire's actions fall into the category of kidnapping or false imprisonment. In legal terms, kidnapping involves forcibly holding someone against their will, punishable by 10 to 20 years per incident. False imprisonment, a less severe charge, carries penalties of 1 to 10 years per offense. In The Cleveland Loretta Quagmire, Quagmire traps Cleveland's wife in a questionable situation, showing clear disregard for her consent. Let's assign 5 counts of false imprisonment, adding another 50 years to his sentence.
For last night to all my friends.
Oh yeah! Boom! You're disgusting. Take them away. We've got all the awesome evidence.
Quagmire's boundary-pushing behavior occasionally veers into deeply inappropriate territory. While Family Guy often plays these moments for laughs, many of his actions would qualify as sexual exploitation or statutory offenses under real-world law. In legal terms, statutory rape involves sexual activity with a person below the age of consent, punishable by 5 to 20 years per offense, depending on circumstances. Sexual exploitation includes engaging in acts where consent is compromised, carrying similar penalties. In Quagmire's Mom, Quagmire is arrested for statutory offenses, highlighting the legal consequences of his behavior. If we assign 5 counts of sexual exploitation, that's an additional 100 years on his record. While Quagmire is best known for his sleazy persona, he's no stranger to physical altercations. From beating up Brian in Jerome is the New Black to attacking others in fits of rage, Quagmire has proven he's not above using violence to settle scores. In legal terms, assault can range from misdemeanors to felonies. Simple assault, fines, or up to 1 year in jail. Aggravated assault, causing serious harm, punishable by 10 to 20 years per incident. In Jerome is the New Black, Quagmire's assault on Brian clearly qualifies as aggravated assault due to the severity of the beating. Assuming 3 counts of aggravated assault, Quagmire adds 60 years to his sentence.
Would you just sit down and go to the bathroom already?
In legal terms, stalking, persistent, unwanted attention, punishable by 1 to 5 years per offense. Invasion of privacy, e.g., using hidden cameras, punishable by 5 years per offense. In Grumpy Old Man, Quagmire spies on people in their private spaces using high-tech gadgets. If we assign 5 counts of invasion of privacy, that's 25 years added to his record. By now, Quagmire's crimes have escalated from petty misdemeanors to serious felonies. With charges ranging from solicitation to kidnapping and assault, he's looking at 315 years in prison just from this section. And there's still more to come. His global offenses are next, and they're even worse. As a pilot, Quagmire has access to international travel, and he's not exactly using it to uphold customs laws. In several episodes, Quagmire implies or outright admits to smuggling illegal goods, from exotic animals to questionable cargo. In the real world, international smuggling, transporting illegal goods across borders, is a federal crime punishable by up to 20 years per offense, depending on the severity and type of item smuggled. In Quagmire's Baby, Quagmire recalls smuggling items on his flights, showcasing his disregard for international laws. Assuming 5 counts of smuggling, that's 100 years added to his sentence. Quagmire's rampant spread of STDs isn't just gross, it's criminal. His indifference to informing partners about his status could classify him as a public health hazard. Intentionally or recklessly spreading infectious diseases is treated as a biological crime in many jurisdictions. In legal terms, knowingly spreading diseases can result in charges of public endangerment, reckless endangerment, or even bioterrorism, with penalties ranging from 10 years to life imprisonment. In Fecal Matters, Quagmire openly jokes about spreading STDs, showing zero concern for public health. Let's assign 3 major counts of endangerment, resulting in 30 years in prison. Quagmire's pilot skills are impressive, but his antics in the cockpit often cross the line into reckless endangerment. Whether he's allowing untrained passengers to fly or crashing into billboards, Quagmire's actions jeopardize the lives of everyone on board. In the real world, reckless endangerment, placing others at risk of serious harm, can result in 10 to 20 years in prison per offense, especially when lives are lost or endangered. In Airport Aero 7, Quagmire's reckless flying results in multiple crashes and significant property damage. Assuming 3 counts of reckless endangerment, Quagmire adds another 60 years to his record. At this point, Quagmire's offenses have escalated from local nuisances to crimes with international and life-threatening implications. Whether he's smuggling contraband or jeopardizing public safety, his actions go beyond sleazy. They're downright dangerous. Quagmire doesn't shy away from causing widespread chaos. From crashing vehicles to blowing up buildings, his actions often leave large-scale destruction in their wake. While these moments are often played for laughs in Family Guy, they would carry severe consequences in the real world. In legal terms, mass destruction involving property or infrastructure can be classified as terrorism or criminal mischief, punishable by 20 years to life per offense. In Forefather, Quagmire accidentally causes a house to catch fire, resulting in significant damage. Let's assign 3 incidents of mass destruction, adding 60 years to his sentence. While Quagmire's actions mostly revolve around his own escapades, there are moments where his involvement crosses into ethically horrifying territory, such as transporting people under questionable circumstances. While not explicitly shown in Family Guy, his references to shady dealings hint at potential human trafficking, a felony with severe penalties. In the real world, human trafficking, transporting people for exploitation, is punishable by up to life imprisonment. In Meet the Quagmires, Quagmire's comments about transporting people suggest knowledge of trafficking. If we assign 1 count of trafficking, that's 1 life sentence for Quagmire. Quagmire's crimes are no longer confined to Quahog. His reckless use of power as a pilot, combined with his indifference to public safety and human rights, paints a picture of a man who operates above the law, at least until the law catches up. So far, he's looking at 250 years in prison, and 1 life sentence from this section alone. As much as Family Guy tries to play Quagmire's antics for laughs, some of his behavior is downright indefensible. Quagmire's pursuit of younger individuals, including minors, crosses from creepy into outright illegal territory. In the real world, statutory rape laws strictly prohibit sexual activity with individuals below the age of consent. Penalties include 5 to 20 years in prison per offense, depending on the age difference in state laws. In Quagmire's Mom, Quagmire is arrested for statutory offenses, a rare moment where the consequences of his actions are explicitly addressed in the show. Assuming 5 instances of statutory offenses, Quagmire would face 100 years behind bars. Quagmire's habit of tying up or trapping individuals, such as Brooke in Quagmire's Baby, pushes him into serious criminal territory. Whether played for humor or not, these actions qualify as kidnapping, which carries severe penalties. In legal terms, kidnapping involves forcibly holding someone against their will, punishable by 10 to 20 years per offense. Exploitation. If coercion or harm is involved, the charge is increased to aggravated kidnapping, which could result in life imprisonment. Quagmire's actions in Quagmire's Baby show clear disregard for consent, escalating his crimes into more serious territory. Assigning 3 counts of kidnapping, that's another 60 years on his record. One of Quagmire's most infamous moments occurs in Meet the Quagmires, when he expresses interest in a deceased individual. While necrophilia is a rare and often joked about offense in media, it is a real and highly illegal crime in the real world. In legal terms, abuse of a corpse is punishable by up to 10 years in prison per offense, depending on the jurisdiction. While the show doesn't explicitly show Quagmire committing necrophilia, his comments suggest intent, which could still be criminally prosecuted. Assigning 1 count, that's 10 years added to Quagmire's sentence. Quagmire's actions don't just harm people, they sometimes extend to animals. In Quagmire's Dad, Quagmire's treatment of animals during an argument crosses into the territory of animal cruelty. In the real world, animal cruelty laws protect animals from abuse, neglect, or harm. Penalties include up to 10 years in prison per offense. Quagmire's disregard for animal safety during chaotic moments would not be taken lightly under legal scrutiny. Assuming 2 incidents, that's 20 years added to his record. Beyond his direct actions, Quagmire has occasionally conspired with others to commit crimes. Whether joining Peter and the gang in questionable heists or hatching plans to evade consequences, Quagmire's conspiratorial behavior could lead to charges of criminal conspiracy. In legal terms, conspiracy, planning or agreeing to commit a crime, is punishable by up to 20 years in prison per incident, depending on the crime. In And Then There Were Fewer, Quagmire is implicated in schemes to cover up crimes, showcasing his willingness to conspire with others. Let's assign 3 instances of conspiracy, adding another 60 years to his sentence. From statutory crimes to necrophilia and animal cruelty, Quagmire's lifetime of offenses demonstrates a complete disregard for both societal norms and legal boundaries. These aren't just crimes, they're some of the most egregious offenses imaginable. In this section alone, Quagmire racks up 250 years in prison. It's time to tally up Glenn Quagmire's crimes and calculate his total prison sentence. Let's break it down by category. Petty crimes, indecent exposure, 10 counts equals 10 years. Trespassing, 5 counts equals 25 years. Vandalism, 3 counts equals 15 years. Harassment, 10 counts equals 10 years. Public disturbance, 5 counts equals 1 year. Subtotal, 61 years. Felonies, paying for prostitution, 20 counts equals 20 years. Kidnapping and false imprisonment, 5 counts equals 50 years. Sexual exploitation, 5 counts equals 100 years. Assault, 3 counts equals 60 years. Stalking and invasion of privacy, 5 counts equals 25 years. Subtotal, 255 years. Global offenses, international smuggling, 5 counts equals 100 years. Reckless STD transmission, 3 counts equals 30 years. Reckless endangerment, 3 counts, Jasser, 60 years. Mass destruction, 3 counts, Jasser, 60 years. Human trafficking, 1 count equals 1 life sentence. Subtotal, 250 years plus 1 life sentence. Lifetime crimes, statutory offenses, 5 counts equals 100 years. Kidnapping and exploitation, 3 counts, Schenchauer, 60 years. Necrophilia, 1 count. Barchoff, 10 years. Animal cruelty, 2 counts equals 20 years. Conspiracy to commit crimes, 3 counts equals 60 years. Subtotal, 250 years. When all the years are added up, Quagmire's total prison sentence looks something like this. Prison time, 816 years. Life, sentences 2. That's right. Quagmire wouldn't just be behind bars for centuries. He'd need multiple lifetimes to pay off his debt to society. If Rhode Island had a prison dedicated to cartoon criminals, Quagmire would likely be its longest-standing resident. So, what have we learned from this deep dive into Quagmire's legal history? First, that Family Guy operates on a level of absurdity that makes real-world laws seem like a mere suggestion. Second, Quagmire's behavior isn't just inappropriate, it's outright criminal. And third, if there's one person in Quahog who should probably keep a low profile, it's him. But let's face it, without Quagmire's antics, Family Guy just wouldn't be the same. Love him or hate him, he's a crucial part of the show's DNA. Still, if Quagmire ever does find himself in handcuffs for good, we hope he remembers this video, because he'll have 816 years to watch it on repeat. And that's the end of Quagmire's criminal career, or at least our breakdown of it. What do you think? Did we miss any of Quagmire's craziest crimes? Or do you think he'd actually talk his way out of some of these charges? Head to the comments and let us know. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Unlike Quagmire, subscribing is a guilt-free pleasure. Giggity.